Hi everyone, Adam Steele from the Hot Pole Studios here, and today we're going to be looking at a new pedal from Boss that can take something that's a really clean guitar and go from this to this. Let's check it out. So the pedal in question is the Angry Driver. It's the newest kind of drive distortion pedal from Boss. And the interesting thing about it for me is that it's not just from Boss. There's also, if you look at the front of it, JHS pedals. JHS are an American company that hand make some very nice boutique pedals. And one of the pedals they make is called the Angry Charlie. The Angry Charlie is kind of a drive box distortion that sounds like a Marshall JCM 800 absolutely cranked. They do another pedal called the Charlie Brown, which is kind of a plexi, so the Angry Charlie's the real aggressive version. And what Boss have done is they seem to have collaborated with JHS to make a pedal that's actually two pedals in one. So one side of it, if you like, is the classic Boss blues driver, which can give you anything from just a little bit of subtle breakup to some fairly crunchy distortion, if you like, but generally the blues driver in my experience is used for a little bit of a drive, a little bit of something. And then the Angry Charlie is an all-out rock kind of sound. So it does everything from fairly heavy classic rock all the way through to metal. So if you're the kind of guy that runs a pedal board but either has an amp that only has one channel, or you're the kind of person that likes to have your amp just set clean behind you and you don't want to touch it, you don't want to have any foot switches or anything for it, you just want it, that is how it is, and then you change the rest on the pedal board, this may well be the pedal for you. It's a very clever little thing. So let's have a listen to it. Very briefly, I'm using a Telecaster which I've just modified to have Bare Knuckles Boot Camp True Grit pickups in it. And that through the clean channel on this Marshall TSL 60 sounds like this. So, really quite clean indeed. So if I turn on the blues driver, that should give me just a little bit of drive. I have the drive on it around... Yeah, so the drive's just around 10 o'clock, so there's not a lot of drive. Now, if I use the neck pickup here and just roll the volume off a little, I'll probably get quite a clean tone back without turning off the pedal. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what kind of distortion pedal is that you don't want to get much distortion out of? But you can if I just turn up the drive on it quite a long way. You can get quite a lot of drive out of it if I want to, but that's generally not what I use the blues driver for. So let's back that gain back off. Whereas if we go from on the JHS side, so this is the clean again. So without touching the amp, Now, that's with the drive for that just after 12 o'clock. There is more gain to go if you want it. If I crank the gain all the way, the drive all the way up, and it's probably going to squeal at me, but let's see how that sounds with this Telecaster. So you can really get some heavy hard rock and some almost metal tones out of it. Maybe if I scooped a little more mids out of the amp, that would be what you might consider to be a fairly metal tone. Now, this is where the pedal gets clever, because as well as the Blues Driver side and the JHS Angry Charlie side, you can combine them. You can combine them in some very clever ways, and that's what the knob at the end is for, is to choose the mode, because you can do it any way in your head that you would think about. The way I would usually do it, I would run the Blues Driver in front of the Angry Charlie, like kind of a boost. You can have it with the knob the other way round, so you can use the Angry Charlie into the Blues Driver. You can have it so that the pedal, when you hit the pedal, it goes from one to the other, so it's always on. You can have them running in parallel, so you get them both at the same time. Maybe you just want a little bit of grit to come through from, say, the Blues Driver whilst having the Angry Charlie going. And then it gets really clever, because there's an extra jack on the side that says remote. And what that is that's a jack for an extra pedal. And I'll show you a quick cutaway here. So whichever mode you have it set on, whatever the main pedal is doing, the external pedal will do what I would call the other thing. I'm being a bit vague because it depends on the mode. If you were using the mode where it switches, for instance, from the Blues Driver to the Angry Charlie and back, then the foot switch is a way to turn the whole thing on and off, if that's how you would want to use it, because maybe you're the kind of guitarist that only uses a proper clean tone sometimes, but you do want that functionality. It's there. There's one which is the Blues Driver into the JHS, and if I remember rightly, that turns one of those two pedals on and off, rather than having the whole thing. But then there's so much you can do with it. It's really quite impressive. So let's just have a quick look at the way that I would run it, which is I would run the Blues Driver into the JHS as kind of a solo boost. So let's have a listen to that. This. In fact, let's just plug a pedal into it and we'll see what this mode does. Okay, so I've plugged in a really cheap latching foot switch from the local hardware store. Boss do their own foot switches, and of course they recommend to use their own, but you can use any kind of switch or switching system as long as it closes that switch. And so in the Blues Driver into the JHS mode, you would think of it where the Angry Charlie, the JHS, is kind of like the main distortion, and then the Blues Driver is a boost. So if I turn the whole thing on, with the switch in, we get the Angry Charlie. If I hit the pedal, we get that boost on top, so I can turn that on and off, like having a boost function, which is very cool. And then let's have a look at parallel. in parallel that turns off the blues driver as well in... yes, so if we've got the Angry Charlie going into the blues driver, that way round, then we think of the JHS as the boost, then the extra pedal turns that on and off. So I could have the blues driver on all the time, and then the pedal will turn on all the gain. Okay, so let's just, before we finish this brief review, let's talk about a couple of big questions. So I've been playing with the Telecaster. How's this going to sound with a Les Paul? So we're going to switch to a Les Paul right now. Okay, so we are back. Let's have a little play of this Les Paul and see how this sounds through the Marshall with nothing else on it. Yeah, that really is the clean channel on a Marshall, but then the output on this this Les Paul is quite hot. So let's see how the blues driver sounds with this. So, with the blues driver with a Les Paul, it sounds like typical classic rock to me, and that's with the gain, the drive even. Yep, gain's on about 10 o'clock on the blues driver, so it's not particularly high. So I'll bet the JHS has got a lot more oomph. Now, let's try that with the... Let's have a look. So if we look at the blues driver going into it, so this is the JHS on its own. And this is with the blues driver as a boost. I know a lot of guitarists who would quite happily stick a little bit of delay and reverb in front at the end of that, and that is them done. And I have to say that I'm kind of leaning that way. The first time I heard an Angry Charlie, my ears pricked up because I watch a lot of guitar demos, a lot of videos, and I instantly went, ooh. And the fact that Boss had managed to cram a blues driver into the same small form factor as well means that that could be a real space saver on a small board. One more thing to cover, seeing as though we've done the Telly and Les Paul, is let's see, this has all been through a Marshall so far, let's see what happens when I turn off the Marshall and try this through a Fender. And because, of course, the Fender clean sound is for a lot of people the gold standard of clean, let's say you were that kind of guitarist who uses a Fender amp and then wants to have a pedal board set up. Let's see how this sounds. Considering we're on the bridge pickup, the treble pickup. So let's see how the blues driver sounds. So let's back the tone off there. And let's see how the JHS side sounds. Oh, really quite bright. Let's take that tone down. So we go from... So let's turn up the level. Whew, that is with the tone rolled all the way down. We might have to turn the treble down on the amp a little. Treble on the amp was on 10 out of 12, so let's try that on 8 out of 12. So here's our clean sound now. Still a great clean sound from the Fender, so let's try that drive again. And with the blues driver in front of it. Safe to say, with the tone control set quite differently, this works with a Fender amp. So back to me. I'm going to be doing some videos very soon for 2Notes Audio Engineering with their Le preamps, and I bet that in front of something like the Le Crunch, which is kind of a Marshall style preamp, if I put that in front of it, I could get some incredible tones. Maybe with a small delay and a small reverb on a board that would easily fit into a flight case, and this would be, for a rock guy especially, the core of a tone. I mean, it does two great things and it can do them in combination, which is very clever. If I had to say there was a downside to this pedal, I'm trying to be completely fair and balanced. Boss Roland have sent me this pedal for review, but it's not mine, I don't own it, I'm not being paid for this, so I'm going to try and be balanced. The one downside is that the dual concentric controls, because they're stacked, they're really quite fiddly. I always find this with concentric controls. My jazz bass has them, and live I can quite often find that if I try and do one, it catches the other, and especially in dimly lit environments, they can be quite difficult to work with. That can be why pedals like the old DS1 or the blues driver itself, for example, work quite well, because with only 3 knobs that are quite big and do a single thing, that can make it much more easy to work with on a stage. But as a studio instrument, or as a pedal where you set the settings and then you're not going to touch it because you're happy with it, I wholeheartedly recommend the Angry Driver. So check out the JB-2 from Boss Roland. I will put a link in a description to their website, to the pedal, so check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pole Studios. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already, because it's really appreciated. Helps us to grow the channel and do more stuff like this, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out our other videos, as you can find here, or check out our Facebook and Twitter, or our Patreon page, which helps us to make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.